We've all been there, right? You meet someone, the sparks are absolutely flying, the connection feels incredible, and then, just like that, they start to fade. They pull away. It is so confusing, so frustrating. Well, it turns out there's a predictable pattern behind this, and that's exactly what we're going to break down.
I mean, you can almost physically feel it, can't you? That shift in energy. When the good morning texts suddenly stop and the constant communication slows to a trickle. It's a gut-wrenching experience that leaves you just staring at your phone wondering, what did I do wrong?
But here's the thing. This isn't just random, chaotic behavior. There's a common, almost clockwork-like pattern that unfolds in these situations. And once you understand this pattern, you can finally see what's really going on.
So to really get a handle on this, let's look at a story. It's a classic example of how that intense, amazing initial interest can just completely fizzle out. And trust me, it reveals everything.
Okay, so here's the story. It's about a woman who just got out of an 8-year marriage that, for the last 5 years, was totally passionless. We're talking roommates. So she leaves, and almost immediately she meets a new guy. The chemistry is off the charts. It's everything she's been missing. So of course, she dives right in. But as she invests more and more, he starts to fade. And then he ends it. His reason? He said she was being too controlling. And this quote just says it all, doesn't it? It's a perfect, painful summary of what was happening. As her excitement and her investment grew, her texts got longer. As his interest faded, his replies got shorter and shorter. You can literally see the balance of power just completely tipping over. Her story, as tough as it is, perfectly lays out a 3-part pattern that plays out over and over again. So let's break these 3 steps down, because seeing the pattern is the absolute first step to breaking.
So here it is, the 3 steps. First, you overvalue a specific trait, like chemistry. Second, based on that intense feeling, you start to overgive your effort. And third, when you feel them slipping away, you try to get control back, but in completely the wrong way.
All right, so let's dig into that first step. The whole thing kicks off when we overvalue something. We fixate on one quality and give it way, way too much importance. So for the woman in our story, coming out of a passionless marriage, that spark of chemistry felt like, well, it felt like everything. It was like finding water in a desert. So she put it on a pedestal, and she valued it so much that it completely blinded her to all the other things a real relationship needs. Stuff like respect, consistency, and actual stability. And this overvaluation leads directly into the next step. That intense feeling is so powerful, so intoxicating, that we start to overgive. We just pour all of our energy and effort into the connection. And this is where you get a huge mismatch. Her effort, the long texts, the emotional energy, it was all based on the intense chemistry she was feeling inside. But his effort? His was just based on convenience and a casual interest. He was getting this massive return on a very, very small investment.
Now I know what you might be thinking, but they seem to really like me. We say this all the time. But liking is such a vague and, honestly, dangerous word. What does it really mean? It could just mean they like the physical intimacy, or they like the companionship so they don't feel lonely. Maybe they genuinely like you as a person, but not romantically. Or maybe they just like having a good time with you, the same way they do with other people. None of that guarantees commitment.
Think of it like this investment ladder. On the very bottom rung, you just have attention. He's looking, he's curious, that's it. The next rung up is intention. This is where he's actually thinking about building something. And at the very top, that's real investment. That's when he's consistently backing it up with action. The problem here was she mistook his attention, that bottom rung, for intention. And she started investing as if you were already at the top. So he's giving less, and she starts to feel him slipping away. That feeling of powerlessness starts to creep in. And this leads us directly to the final step in the pattern, trying to get control back, but in all the wrong ways. This is where we see 2 totally different kinds of control. First, you've got low-value control. This is when you try to manage the other person's behavior, like when she told him, "You can't see other people." That comes from a place of insecurity. Then you have high-value control. This is about managing yourself,
your perception, and most importantly, how much you choose to invest. So, if trying to control the other person is the wrong move, if it's a low-value play, then where does your real power actually lie in these situations? I love this. Real leverage isn't making a demand. You can't force someone to commit to you. True leverage, real power, comes from the other person's fear of losing you. It's about them recognizing the value that you bring to their life and deciding for themselves that they don't want to let that go. Ultimately, this whole pattern gets its fuel from us focusing on the things we can't control, their actions, instead of the things we can. So the question to leave with is this: in your dating life, where are you going to place your focus? On them or on you?